What is going on, everybody? What's going on? How are you? Welcome to Sir Hale Speaks podcast. It is good to see everybody. It's been quite some time. First of all, Happy New Year to the network. Happy New Year to all my podcast subscribers. I appreciate all you guys. Listen, it's been a minute, so if you can do me a favor, tell somebody to come on over here. We are live. We're going to talk about something for just a few minutes. As you guys can see, I'm actually on my way out to take care of some business, but I came across something that I wanted to talk about just briefly. But before we get into this, what's going on, y'all? What's good with you? How have you been? How was this year starting out for you? How are things going? You guys let me know. I want to hear from you. How is the new year going? What is happening? So yeah, guys, as you join in, please hit the like button. Tell somebody to join as well. We're going to have a pretty quick conversation, but I think it's going to be pretty good for you as well. Hit that like button. Tell somebody to join. We're going to have ourselves a good time. So I'm doing this quick video because I came across something. It was a really quick segment on a podcast, and they were talking about relationships and something that I think is important that I want to discuss with all of us. But before we do this, you guys let me know how you guys are doing. Where you guys listening from? Let me know what city you're listening from. We want to salute your city. We want to give you a shout out. Let me know where you guys are listening from. We are glad to see you here on the podcast this morning. Right now, my time, it's 11:28 a.m. Central Standard Time. Let me know where you guys are listening from. So why am I doing this? You guys know that my podcast has been, for the most part, dedicated to talking about relationships. What's going on, Sherwood? It's good to see you. Shout out to New York. Good to see you. Chaos Rain. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're here. So you guys know I spend most of my time talking about relationships, but I've taken a break as I'm finishing up a degree in psychology and working on some business things as well, because we're taking what we do to a different level. It is not just us talking; it is us demonstrating what we talk about. But I came across something that I think that it can resonate with a lot of people, and I wanted to give everybody a couple of points on why we got to spend some more time making sure we put more thought into who we spend our time with. Like, a lot of people are so busy still trying to date, still trying to jump into get married. And I see people throwing out their list of what they call standards, which is really, it just really, in emboldened requirements. Standards speak to where you are, requirements speak to what you want. And people are communicating their requirements as if they are standards, and they don't understand standards because they're not there. But that's a different kind of conversation. We have to put thought into who we spend our time with. Now, if you are going to be somebody who does exceptional things, if you want to be successful in business or education or politics or in healthcare, listen, guys, come close.
Sir Hale Speaks.
Whoever you spend the most time with, they're going to significantly influence whether or not you go far. Like, they're going to influence your trajectory. So if you go far, you hit all your milestones and you exceed them, that's going to be directly correlated to who you spend the most time with. And if you spend your time with the wrong person will derail your life in ways it will take years to recover from, if you recover. So let me play this clip. I want you guys to see this. I think it was really good. It's not something that you haven't heard before, but I think it makes for good conversation. So I'm gonna play this. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
What mistake can you make in life that has the most severe consequences?
Getting married to the wrong person. Nobody's scared of marriage. Everybody's scared of marrying the wrong person. And a bad marriage can create an environment of negativity that's bad for you, your partner, and even your children. The pain of marrying the wrong person is worse than your fear of not getting married before 30.
So did everybody hear that? If everybody heard that, or if I need to repeat it again, just put one in the comments. Did everybody hear what was said? I'm going to play this one more time because it was pretty quick, but it was pretty on point. I'm going to play it one more time. You guys let me know if you can hear this.
What mistake can you make in life that has the most severe consequences?
Getting married to the wrong person. Nobody's scared of marriage. Everybody's scared of marrying the wrong person. And a bad marriage can create an environment of negativity that's bad for you, your partner, and even your children. The pain of marrying the wrong person is worse than your fear of not getting married before 30.
Now, so this is important because everybody is on these timelines and on this clock to rush and to get married. Well, a lot of people aren't rushing to get married. They're saying they're not, but people are still on the apps. They're still hooking up. They're still trying to find long-term relationships. And even though there was a decline in terms of the rate of marriage, in terms of what we've seen historically, people still want to be in something meaningful. But the truth is, people are afraid to be married, particularly men, right? There is a fear because it is not the institution of marriage in and of itself that is the issue. It is the people that come into this, that exploit it, that don't come into a marriage with good intents to serve and to provide safety and support. They come to marriage as a way to navigate and use an institution to get what they want out of it. And this is what I think people are afraid of. So I'm going to give you a few things that I think are important. In my coaching and when I speak to people, here are some of the things that I see that people do that sabotage their chances at having something viable and healthy long term. All right, here we go, guys. The very first one.
Sir Hale speaks in the building.
If you were spending your time, you're making all of your decisions because of love. Now, I know this seems contradictory to what you think marriage is for. I'm not saying that you should not marry somebody you don't love. I'm simply saying that so many people go into it and all they're looking for is love. And really, if you boil down and you really counsel people and if you coach them, you start to realize people are marrying people to fulfill something that they didn't get, in their childhood. A lot of people are looking for marriage to provide them with what they were missing with other people who are supposed to play roles in their life, right? So if son did not get the kind of loving from mother that he needs, well, on an unconscious level, he is trying to get that love from his wife, even though it's not the love of a wife that's going to soothe what only the love of a mother could give. But if you are unconscious about this, then you will marry someone and you will marry them to supply a need that they might not be equipped to fulfill. It is the same thing with a lot of women. If you have father issues or there is a void because of the absence or the abandonment of your father, and you try to get married, you're going to place pressure on the man to give you a love that he might not be built to give. You might be looking for a fatherly love in the form of your husband, which he can provide some of that. But a husband can't fill a father's void. Only a father can. And if your father is either not present or he is deceased, where you just can't talk to him anymore, you have to do some healing within yourself so that you don't put pressure on him or he does not put pressure on you to fulfill a role that you simply are not built to fulfill. Okay? So if you're just marrying because you need somebody to love you, then this is the wrong thing to get married for. Because here's the truth. If you marry somebody just for love, there are going to be times, come close, everybody.
Sir Hale speaks
There
in
are
the
going to
building.
be times where y'all don't feel all lovey-dovey. You don't feel like you're in love with this person. And if you're basing the integrity of your marriage on the feeling of love and not the behavior and the commitment and the discipline and duty of love, then you're going to go through people chasing butterflies because you don't have a healthy concept of what real love is. Okay. So marriage is not about you going into it looking for someone to love you. It's you marry somebody you love and you go into it because you love someone. You go into it to serve, not just to extract and to take what you need, particularly if you're looking for something that they are not built to give you. Okay? So that's one. The second thing is you don't marry somebody because you simply see the good in them. It's good to see you, Lady Anya. Glad that you're here. This is one of the things that I hear. Now, I hear this more pronounced with women in terms of who they date. They see the good in somebody, right? So one of the things that people do is, and it's it's a conscious thing we do so that we don't feel like we are being judgmental or that we don't throw a person away because they have certain issues, right? And it's a typical thing. But you cannot make a critical decision like a marriage or relationship solely because you want to see the good in people. If you're going to see the good, seeing the good should not make you blind to potential red flags and issues that would rival any potential good you see. Okay. This is important, everybody, because like a lot of people they say things like, this person they became somebody I didn't know. I don't even know who this is. You never knew who they were because you can't really get to know a person if you isolate and you filter out the things that are inconvenient for you to see, because that minor inconvenience, it kind of destroys these bubbly heart-shaped glasses. If you want to really know a person, you got to look at what you see as potential flags. You got to look at the green flags. You got to look at the good and the bad. You've got to embrace and accept all of them to get a full picture of who they are. Because a lot of us say we never knew who they were. That is correct. It is because you filtered out anything that went against what you wanted to believe, because you wanted this person so much that you were willing to overlook things that could sabotage a future marriage or relationship. Okay? So you don't get married to somebody because you just want to love. You don't get married to somebody just because you see the good in them. It's a whole lot of people. Matter of fact, anybody in their right mind, manipulators included, are always going to put forth their best foot forward. Their job is to get you so enamored with the chivalry or with the kindness or with the frequency of the gifts or with the amount of emotional attention that they give you, with praise, with compliments, with celebrations, with intimacy, right? You should avoid that until you're married. But somebody who's manipulating is going to be charming. They're going to be in your face. They're going to do whatever it takes to get your feelings engaged, so that you're so invested in the good that once they show you elements of the bad, you fall into what we call intermittent reinforcement. This means that you have experienced what you thought was good, so that when you see the bad, they can keep pulling the strings and make you hope that you guys are going to return to that previous state. That's called intermittent reinforcement. So you have to be cognizant of these things. Do not filter out the bad in people. Everybody has flaws, right? And I'm not saying that because they have bad things, this automatically disqualifies them. I'm simply saying do not be naive, right? Do not filter out the bad because you simply want to see the good. You're setting yourself up for a potential terrible, disastrous relationship. Okay? All right, so here's the third one. You don't marry somebody or you don't seek a relationship because you don't want them to leave, right? A lot of people get married because they think that placing a ring on somebody's finger is going to establish fidelity. It's going to say to the world that this person is mine. And you think that you can use the ring or marriage in the person who may not have shown you signs of faithfulness. They may not have shown you signs of fidelity and duty and long suffering and patience. And you think that the last attempt that you could use to make sure that they're faithful is marrying them. I'm telling you, marriage does not fix infidelity.
Sir,
I want to clap for myself on that one. Everybody hear me carefully. If you go into marriage thinking that being married is going to turn off the cheating switch, that is going to turn off the infidelity switch, that is going to turn off the attention-seeking switch, I'm telling you, you're in for a rude awakening. Marriage doesn't cure anything. What marriage does is it really puts things on blast. Marriage will show you everything that's wrong and will force you to deal with it. And those who are invested in the marriage will look at it, albeit difficult to look at, but they'll tackle it together. And people who don't want to address the parts of them that are flawed will run from it. They'll go back and do more of what they've always been doing, because marriage doesn't cure infidelity. It exposes it. Okay? So if you can't be with somebody and they're unfaithful in your singleness, and then you get married to them and say, well, you were supposed to be faithful to me in my marriage. They are. You're correct. But that's like trying to turn somebody into something that they weren't because you put a ring on their finger. Don't marry somebody and use marriage to change them, because typically they won't change. You marry somebody who's already exhibiting the behaviors that are important to you. Like, one of the things that I tell people all the time is, when you get married, you don't get married and then turn a girlfriend into a wife or turn a man into a husband. You should be seeing these signs even before you say I do. Part of the reason why you ask them to be your wife, or you accept the engagement to be somebody's wife, is because they have already exhibited what you needed to see in terms of the kind of spouse that they're going to be to you and the parent to your children. Right? So you don't marry somebody because you don't want them to leave. Because if you do this, and you operate from a place of fear, they have a sort of leverage on you. And you are at their mercy, because you're not marrying them because you see how they can benefit your life and you can benefit theirs. You have an objective plan. You are marrying them from a place of fear. And somebody who marries you and they know you are in fear will use that noose that's around your neck to control you, and they can control all the dynamics. They can mistreat you, they can talk to you poorly, they can disrespect you, cross your boundaries. Some will take it to the extreme and will cheat on you. They will allow people to violate the sanctity of your marriage, because they know they have all the leverage, and they went into the marriage knowing so. So you do not get married. You do not stay with somebody because you're afraid that they're going to leave, right? Anybody who allows you to do this does not care about you. They care about themselves. And they'll pull on that noose, they'll pull on that leash when it's convenient for them. You marry somebody who you can't live without, not who you are afraid will leave. There is a difference. Somebody who doesn't want you to leave will do just enough so you'll stay. Somebody who appreciates you will do what it takes to make sure they let you know how much they appreciate you. There is a big difference. Okay, and then the last thing. Now, everybody, come close to this one.
Sir,
This is one I don't want.
listen.
If you're over 35, I don't want to hear what I'm getting ready to say. I don't want to hear you say this. If you are still making relationship and marriage decisions based on your type, listen, I'm upset. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the rest of this show. I'm upset. I'm upset with this. I keep hearing 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 45-year-olds talking about what they type is and who they looking for, and what they gotta look like, and what kind of money they have to have, and what their standards are. Listen, everybody, let's break something down really quickly. There is a difference between you having standards and requirements. Salute to Mr. He said, good to see you. There are fundamental differences between requirements and standards. Requirements are what you want. So if you are going into a relationship saying, you have requirements and you're clear that these are requirements, these are what you want and what you need, I can go with that. We can debate requirements. It's the people who conflate requirements with standards who get on my nerves, right? These are the individuals who are completely oblivious to what they're saying. Requirements speak to what you want. Standards speak to where you are. So if you're saying that my standard, let's take the guys for example. We're saying, the fellows are saying, I want my girl to, I want her to look this way. I want her to, to be this way. I want her to have this together. And he doesn't have himself together on the equivalent of what he wants her to be. You can't expect somebody to meet a standard that you're not at, right? So you can't expect her to come in being this woman who's on board with your plan and with your mission, but you're unclear about what your plan is and you don't have a mission, right? So it's not a it's not a standard when you say what you want and you say they have to be this because it's your standard. It cannot be a standard if you yourself have not met that. Let's pause here for a second there, y'all.
Sir, Hale speaks.
I want everybody to share that with people. It cannot be a standard if you have not met it. If you're saying, if you're requiring someone else to meet something and you have not lived up to that level, then that's a preference, and I can respect a preference. But just don't miscommunicate and make it seem like you have arrived somewhere. And as a result of what you have, where you've grown and where you are in life, then the people in your life have to rise there. You haven't even risen there. Is this making sense to you? So we got to be careful with these things. A standard is where you are. A requirement is what you want. And when there is a disconnect between these two, we want people to be something to us that they're going to have confusion of how do you want me to be more than you are, right? So I want us to get away from these types because these types to me are they're little caricatures of what we wish and we envision we were, particularly if our life doesn't resemble what we're saying we want. If you're over 35, I do not want to hear about your type if your type has not yet gotten you married, right? So I hear people say, a lot of ladies say, my type is the roughneck, is the man who's the professional but got the thug in him, and it's the one who knows how to take charge, but who knows, how to love and be patient. Listen, you're confused. Listen, you're confused. You're taking bits and pieces of different personalities and characteristics of men who you've been attracted to. And instead of being committed and loyal to one, you just want to get the best of each of those men. And that's not the way that people work. That's not the way that men work. You don't get to have a man who makes all of this money and then has all the time. You don't get to have a man who has all of the looks but don't look better than you, makes you feel good. Like you cannot have what you call as a standard. Like he has to have, great credit and you don't have great credit, or he has to be educated and you're not as educated. And we're not just talking about degrees, right? Because if you go on your type, look at the history and the track record of your type. What has your type gotten you? If your type has gotten you with children by yourself, or if it has gotten you heartbroken, if it has caused you relationship trauma or emotional damage, why are you still looking for the top tier of your type? You know what I mean? Like if you look into a trash can, there's the bottom of the trash can and it's the top of the trash can. Just because you're picking from the top of the trash, it is still trash.
Sir Hale speaks in the building.
Okay? So I want us, unless you have done the internal work to ensure that your type and what you're looking for is healthy and that it gets you to where you want to be, and that you have the equivalent character and motives to appreciate that, we get away from types. Let's figure out who you are, who you need to become, and let's start making decisions on who you actually are and where you're going. Let's get away from the types. Sometimes your type was preventing you from finding the love of your life, right? So open up your mind and examine why you like what you like. Some of us like what's bad for us, and we refuse to modify that, and that's why we're still single today. So let me give you the rundown. So who you marry has a significant impact on your future, and here are some things to avoid. Do not get married simply because of love. It takes more than love. You got to be able to trust the person you're with. There was nothing worse than being in love with somebody you cannot rely on. So you don't get married just because of love, but you do marry somebody that you love. You don't get married just because you see the good in somebody. You cannot accept the good and then be confused when you see bad. You don't get to filter out the parts that support what you want to believe and ignore the things that contradict it. You've got to see the full picture of a person and accept that and make decisions from that. The third thing is you don't ever marry somebody because you don't want them to leave. That's like tying a leash around your neck and then hoping that they never pull on it to control you. You marry somebody who you can't live without, who you want to be with, right? You don't give somebody control over the state of the relationship just because you're desperate and you don't want them to leave you. And then the last thing is, you don't marry somebody just because they are your type. If you're over 30, listen, if you're over 35 and you say this, I'm calling the police to get you arrested. All right? We're getting away from that and we're going to make healthy decisions because we're going to have successful marriages, and successful marriages hinges on exceptional, proper thinking about relationships and marriage. All right, guys, I love you. TIQS, it's good to see you. Glad you're here. Reese from Philly, salute to you. It's good to see you. Everybody, if you enjoyed this stream, hit the like button on your way out. I appreciate everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow, I believe, and we're going to dig deep into a little bit more. Until next time, everybody,
Sir
Hale Speaks is out the building. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace. I'm a little rusty, y'all. Let me do that outro again. Until next time, Sir Hale Speaks is out the building. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and the only Sir Hale Speaks in the building.